Hello, my name is Vice Mayor Drew Combs, and welcome to the June 25th special and regular City Council meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with City Council, city staff, and members of the public participating in City Council chambers and remotely. Please note, public comment speaker time may be limited to 2 minutes if there are more than 10 speakers an item. So with the call to order, I'll transition to roll call. I'd like to introduce City Council members and staff present. Mayor Taylor and City Council Member Dorr are joining virtually using provisions from the Brown Act. In chambers are myself, Vice Mayor Drew Combs, and City Council members Betsy Nash and Jim Willison. Staff present include City Manager Justin Murphy, Assistant City Manager Steven Stolte, maybe, Assistant City Attorney Mary Wagner, and City Clerk Judy Heron. City Clerk Heron, would you please provide instructions to the City Council and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor Combs. And again, echoing a welcome to our special and regular June 25th City Council meeting. For members of the public who wish to provide comment on an item on tonight's agenda, after the Vice Mayor calls for comment on that item, we ask that you engage that hand feature in the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in from a landline or a cell phone, you can press *9 at that time. Participating in chambers, you can complete a speaker card at that back table and return to me at the clerk's desk. That does conclude my instructions at this time. Vice Mayor, you may continue.
Okay, cool. So moving on to item C, the closed session. We will begin the closed session item per Government Code 45957.6. I would like to identify that Human Resources Manager Carla Freckman will also be joining the closed session. City Clerk Heron, please call for public comment for closed session item C1.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on closed session item C1, closed session conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code 54957.6 regarding labor negotiations with the Police Officers Association, participating in person, complete a speaker card at the back table, return to me at the clerk's desk. Participating virtually, you can engage that hand feature, bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or a cell phone, please press *9 now. And this will be the final call for public comment on our closed session item C1. Seeing no further hands or cards. Vice Mayor, you may continue.
Okay. With that, we will adjourn this meeting and convene in closed session. We will reconvene in the regular meeting at 6 p.m., right? We're guaranteeing 6 p.m.? Okay. Do we have an estimated time which we want to provide?
Let's see, I believe it'd be closer to 6:15 or 6:30. So I think we could start with 6:15.
Okay. So okay. All right. Thanks. So we will try to convene the meeting as close to 6:15 as we possibly can. Thank you.
All right, having our city council back at our in-person and virtual dais. Vice Mayor Combs, you may reconvene the meeting.
Oh, thank you, Clerk Karen. Hello, I am Vice Mayor Drew Combs, and I'd like to recall to order the June 25th special and regular city council meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with city council, city staff, and members of the public participating in city council chambers. Please note public comment speaker time may be limited to 2 minutes if there are more than 10 speakers on an item. So I'd like to reintroduce city council members and staff present. Mayor Taylor, City Council Member Dorr are joining virtually using provisions from the Brown Act. And chambers are myself, Vice Mayor Drew Combs, and City Council members Betsy Nash and Jim Willison. Staff present include City Manager Justin Murphy, Assistant City Manager Stephen Stolte, Assistant City Attorney Mary Wagner, and City Clerk Judy Herron. City Clerk Herron, would you please provide instructions to the City Council and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. And again, echoing a welcome to our June 25th special and regular city council meeting for members of the public who wish to provide comment on an item on tonight's agenda. After the Vice Mayor calls for comment on that item, if you are participating in person, we ask that you can complete a speaker card at that back table and return to me at the clerk's desk. If participating virtually, we ask that you engage that hand feature bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or a cell phone, press *9 at that time. That concludes my instructions. Vice Mayor, you may continue.
Great, thank you, Clerk Herron. I'd like to introduce Assistant City Attorney Mary Wagner to report out from the closed session.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Combs, members of the council. No reportable action from closed session this evening.
All right, thank you, Assistant City Attorney Wagner. With that, we'll move on to item D, agenda review. Agenda review provides advance notice to members of the public and city staff of any modifications to the agenda, order, or any requests from city council members. Does the city council wish to pull any items from the consent calendar or informational items for discussion to be heard after the last regular business item? Mayor Taylor or Councilmember Dorr? Okay. Does the city council desire to modify the order of any of the agenda items? Okay. So then moving on to item E, presentation and proclamations. We have one presentation this evening, E1, presentation Sequoia Healthcare District Update. I'd like to introduce Sequoia Healthcare District CEO Pamela Kurtzman to make the presentation.
All right. Hello and thank you. I'm Pamela Kurtzman, as you pointed out, CEO of Sequoia Healthcare District, and I am delighted to be able to present to you on Sequoia Healthcare District. We have not traditionally presented to our city councils, and we have 7 cities within our boundaries, and I'm wanting to change that. I want you to know who we are. I want to know more about Menlo Park and what we do with each other. And so with that, I'm going to take about 10 minutes. I'm going to zip through some slides, but please interrupt me. Don't have to wait till the end. You can interrupt me, and ask any questions along the way. Okay. I'm going to start with just, so I'm going to click here. Let me get this first. My little clicker is not working here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Just a quick background on the district. We've been around for over 75 years. We were formed in 1946 to actually build and operate Sequoia Hospital. There was a big influx of people coming in, but there were a very significant lack of healthcare services. There was Stanford and Mills Peninsula and nothing in between. So there were 9 innovative women from San Carlos came together, got a parcel tax approved, and that's when we built Sequoia Hospital, 1949. Struck ground and then opened up in 1954. And then we owned and operated the hospital for over 50 years. And then in 96, we partnered with Catholic Healthcare West. And when we did that, they not only took over the financial component and the operating component, they ran the hospital. Those dollars that we took in from property taxes could then actually be used in the community to keep people out of the hospital. So we have strong partnership with Sequoia Hospital, but we are no longer the hospital. And I'm going to go through and explain to you where we are today. Right now we have 5 board members. These are all elected by zones. And so Menlo Park, your representative is Kim Griffin. She wasn't able to be here tonight, so I'm presenting on her behalf and really on the district's behalf. That is Zone B that you see here. Actually, in Kim's term, we do not have term limits, but we do have an election for Zone B this year. And the others, board of directors, are listed here. Within our boundaries, we have, as I mentioned, 7 cities. We have a third of Foster City. We have all of Menlo Park, all of Belmont, San Carlos, Redwood City, and Atherton, Portola Valley, and Woodside. And then there's a little tiny piece of Menlo Park that was left out. Because remember, these boundaries were drawn in 1946. So there's a little bit east of 101, kind of over off of Marsh, that is not currently in the district. And so the parcel taxes that we receive are all within these boundaries. And then the dollars that we put out go to residents whose parcel taxes are within, are part of that boundary. Our annual revenue, our budget's approved each June by our board of directors. We take in just about 18 million a year in property taxes. And that's a percent, it's 1% of the county's percent that goes to special districts. So we're a portion of that, again, about 18 million. Our goal is to put all of that back out into the community and public health programs, and I'll explain how we do that coming up. We primarily work as a funder, but we also have our own programs. And our Healthy Schools Initiative, which I'll talk about in a minute, is really our largest program. It comprises about a third of our funding. It's about a $6 million initiative. So we put in it's been close to $30 million to our local public schools here over the past 12 years that we've had the initiative. And I don't know, let me see. I'm going to go back to that before I switch slides quickly. On the Healthy Schools Initiative, there's 8 school districts within our boundaries. So all of Sequoia Union High School District, so MA, and Las Lomitas, Menlo Park City School District, those school districts receive support. And what we fund are school nurses, school counselors, a significant amount of money to nonprofits that go in and help provide extra supports in those areas, especially when it comes to mental health. We have a number of initiatives, I said. You can learn more about that by either asking me now or going to our website. Our grants, we put out community grants. We fund about close to 70 different nonprofits, and they all provide some sort of health services. It might be a mental health, it might be physical fitness. It's of all ages, seniors to early childhood. They're all health focused, and we also fund some major clinics like Ravenswood. So Ravenswood Medical Clinic is East Menlo Park. It's not in our boundaries, but a significant number of our district residents go there for services. So we fund a proportionate amount of dollars for our residents to go to Ravenswood. As I said, our Healthy Schools Initiative last year was 4.8 million. We are now close to 6 million this year. The budget just approved 5.8 million for the schools. And then our Community Impact Fund is outside of those 2 grants programs, and that is Samaritan House is one of them, 1.8 million a year to Samaritan House. And Sonrisis, which is an oral health nonprofit. And the oral health is a big area we're growing, and I'll tell you in a minute as well. So last year was 12.5 invested back in the community. Our revenue last year was just over 15.5 million. This year we're budgeting for 17.5, close to 18. And so we have some additional funds that we're putting into this dental clinic I'll talk with you about. So that's that little gap that you see. I already had mentioned this, over 20 million. It's actually a little bit more than that. This year will be close to 26. And then our caring community grants, we've upped that $1 million this year as well. So as our tax revenue increases and it comes over, if it's over what we budgeted, whatever we have, we try to put into the grants or the school programs. But whatever it is, we try to put it back in the community. We're not trying to hold on to it, especially when there's so many needs. In Menlo Park specifically, we fund about 25 nonprofits that serve this zip code. About close to 8,000 residents receive benefits from these nonprofits. And again, these are the ones that just serve the residents of Menlo Park. Again, that's Zone B. Our strategic plan is very, very much focused on equity and inclusion. We serve a significant number of low-income and BIPOC communities with these tax dollars because that's where the greatest need arises. We do try to be equitable and distribute funds where everyone benefits, and we do that in our school programs, particularly where all kids have access, equal access to services. Some may need more, but everybody gets something. And we work with our school teachers and staff administrators as well, because we know being a teacher and having students in schools it's a lot. So I think everyone needs support. We work to create innovative programming, things that others aren't doing, gaps that aren't being filled. We do work with our county. We work with our other healthcare districts so that we can pull resources for greater impact. So there's a lot of collaboration. That's number 3. We're working on our communications, and that's why I'm here tonight, so we can let you know more of what we do and how we work with Menlo Park. And the other big piece we had traditionally done, but is advocacy. We need people to speak up and organizations to work for those that don't have a voice, that aren't being heard. So that's a big role that we have in our strategic plan this time. And then I mentioned our dental clinic. So we are right now, we signed a lease, a 10-year lease, and TI improvements of almost $6 million. We're going to convert our current building into a dental clinic. It will be operated by Ravenswood. It will be 14 operatory, and it'll have access for special needs, people in wheelchairs and people with challenges with traditional oral health care. So we're really proud of this. We are going to break ground in January. We expect to break ground in January and opening up in October. And we have not had a nonprofit dental clinic in our community at any time. We have Fair Oaks Community Health Center that we've helped support for oral health access, but we haven't had one. So this will be, I hope to be a significant benefit for those who have not been able to access oral health care. There's only 3 dentists in the county right now that accept Deni-Cal, that are actually accepting them. So there's a big wait list, and it's a really big issue that we're trying to address. So, and then I'm going to wrap it up. But what I really wanted you to take away from this presentation is that we really are more than a funder. We are a collaborator. If you have ideas and you have concerns or issues or needs, please reach out to me because we love to partner with our cities. We do partner, as I said, with our county and our schools significantly. And you all have a lot of ideas. And you know the needs of your community, so let me know if there's something that we're missing in Menlo Park. We also, just the other takeaway is that we fill critical health gaps that the county isn't able to meet, or even our nonprofits. We couldn't do the work without our nonprofits doing the work, so we help them be successful, and we help our cities and our counties be successful as well. and we all work together for greater impact is our goal. And yeah, we fund health resources that are not funded by insurance companies, hospitals, schools, local, state, and federal governments. And that's our sweet spot. I think that's our purpose. So if there is no questions, I'm done with my presentation. And I would welcome questions.
Ms. Kurtzman, thank you very much for the presentations. Are there any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Nash?
Thank you for the presentation. Do you work with the homeless within your area? And can you give us a little bit more information on that? And if people see homeless individuals who might need help, how would they go about connecting them with you?
Yeah, thank you. We partner, we don't work directly, but we partner with several organizations. Our main one is Life Moves. Life Moves could have a big cycling fundraising benefit here in Menlo Park. I think it starts here, but we will connect them with social services that we are aware of. The county has services as well. And we get people that will show up at our district offices. And so we can be a connector for that. We also have a resource page on our website. But Life Moves has been a partner that provides significant support for homeless, and as well as mental health services, because some people may not be ready to go into shelter. So we might partner, I should say, with organizations like Star Vista, right, that will show up and bring care and support for those where they are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know whose hand went up first, but I'll still start with, okay, I'll start with Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Combs, and thank you for the presentation. Have a couple questions just about, it sounds like from your presentation that you do provide services to the area of Menlo Park, which is District 1 already, even though we're not a part of the district. Because you said you give services to folks that have the 94025 zip code. So just wanted some clarity around that.
Yeah, as I said, there's a little sliver. Okay, so an example of one of the missing pieces is the Veterans Hospital right here. That's actually just on the border. And we had previously funded services for Veterans Hospital there. And we found out later that it was just on the wrong side of the boundary, and we had to stop funding that. Yeah. However, there's a lot of programs that the people who live in that community go to, programs that are like at Ravenswood. So they will get services, but our funds have to go right to that particular line. And it's a legal issue.
Well, if we look at the map, Judy, can you put the map back up, please? Because it looks like there's a portion that's covered by Zone B, and that's Menlo Park, and then also Zone D.
Yeah,
just looking at the map.
Yeah, it's just, as I said, it's a little section. And
I think there's a part of, and I think this is what you probably need to look at, the map of the districts in Menlo Park, all 5. District 1 includes the area that's along 101 Haven Avenue, which is in Zone D. That's a part of Menlo Park. And then it even looks like a portion of the Bellhaven neighborhood is in Zone D as well. But I do understand about you can only fund the areas that you cover. But according to your map, it looks like you do cover portions of Menlo Park. Portions of Menlo Park. So this leads to my next question, because I don't want to take up all the time on this. Just wanted to find out, has anybody on your board or any member of the public ever asked for you to cover the entire city of Menlo Park?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Yes. It is actually something that we are exploring and have explored. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to get the boundary change. You work through city councils. We need to go through LAPCO, and there's a whole process. But it is something that we actually don't have full control over. We don't have a lot of control over, except that we can pursue that. And we actually have done that because it makes sense, right? I
And
mean,
it's a part of your strategic plan.
It
It
is.
is equity and inclusion. So to me, that would be a part of your strategic plan. And so I just another question. So it sounds like there's opportunity to work with the healthcare district. I represent District 1 in Menlo Park. We're the only area that does not have any type of healthcare clinic or any access to even to have your blood pressure checked. So I'm definitely interested in something. So, so I'm glad you did the presentation this evening. And then also I'm hoping that you are looking at the health disparities, the social health determinants, and also the community needs assessment, because that would give you the data that you would need to prove why you need to include the whole city in your district.
Right.
Thank you.
We do use that to build, both of those assessments were utilized in creating our strategic plan. We used about 6 different assessments, and those 2 were actually the primary ones. But we don't have control over the boundaries. And if you are able to have any influence on that, we may be interested in impacting a change in that, let me know. But our legal counsel is working on that as well.
Really
other
quickly,
questions?
that's great to hear. I just want to add for clarity, because I pulled up the boundaries on your website. And so the vast majority of District 1 and District 2 are not included, and a significant portion of District 3. So to be clear, something like 25 to maybe even 30% of Menlo Park is actually not, if we're talking about population, not in this. So I just want to, for corrections, not a small portion that is not in this health district. It's a significant sector of the city that's not in the health district.
May I ask, how many residents in total does Menlo Park have? Do you know that
It's
number?
35,000.
Okay.
Somewhere in, so, and
Yeah, and furthermore, I know we're talking about our districts and you have your
Mhm.
districts.
Yeah.
Mayor Taylor, who was speaking, is District 1, and District 1 probably definitely has the population that would benefit the most from a lot of this service. Well, all of our districts would, but as she's speaking about the social determinants of health and whatnot. So what's the healthcare district that actually would then is directly south of us? Is there a healthcare
El
district?
Camino Healthcare District, it's down in Mountain View. And so, and again, there's pockets that are left out, right? Little pockets that we literally don't have authority to just go and change those and provide the services over there. It's actually illegal because of the tax base. And if that were an option that we could expand, we'd probably need city council support to advocate and go to bat for that. And so you might hear back from us on that, especially if there's interest, especially if it's that big. And again, I think it's growing, that pocket, because over time, there's more and more population growing in Menlo Park, and people are living in areas that they hadn't traditionally. And so as that grows, we want to grow with it. But that's where we are today.
I think I'm sorry, Councilmember Dory, I skipped the line. Please go.
No, thank you. I appreciate seeing that map. I just saw it, and that's helpful to see. And so just to flag, given that it's about 2/5 the population of Menlo Park that's not included in the district, just to put it in numbers and population size, this conversation is really helpful to understand a little bit more about what the health district is doing. And it makes me eager to have another conversation too with the other health district on the other side of our community. I was curious, have you all used the Cal Enviro screen? Because I think that is a tool. In part, I think one of the indicator maps is behind our Mayor Taylor, showing disparities in access to either tree cover or asthma rates or poverty levels. And I think that can be a really interesting tool as we think about how that relates to health. So I was just curious if you've ever used that tool.
No, but the county uses that tool. And so what we'll end up doing is where there are gaps that we aren't filling, the county is still, they're coming in areas. So we will partner there's portions that are countywide. We might have an initiative that's countywide, but we don't work countywide. So Peninsula Healthcare District might cover the north, we'll cover the south, and then the county will cover the portions that are not within either district. And that's how we try to meet those health disparities, because it's not all one entity. We know we can't all do it single-handedly. So when we work together to try to do that, and those locations where there is not a health district, we do encourage, we hope that your community members will go to Samaritan House and receive free medical care there, or go to Ravenswood and receive care. We hope that they will find a place to go like that. And those are the big organizations that we fund.
Gotcha. And you mentioned that the city council could help advocate for more specific support or for that district to be expanded. What would be the next best step? And I know this is just a presentation here, but I'm curious if there's something that you can flag for us and for the public of how we can continue this conversation.
It needs to go, if there's a process with LAFCO, that's the oversight agency on the special districts. And it needs to go to probably to a public vote. It needs to have the support of city councils, and there's probably portions of tax revenue that need to be brought into that. So it's pretty complex. We're still willing and interested in going that because it makes sense. We believe it makes sense. And so I think as we get to that period, that point where our legal counsel is working with LAFCO to understand the next steps, we will then get back and let you know, because it would involve Menlo Park. And we need allies to say, yeah, this is a good thing and we support it. Because I think that's where the roadblock would be, is if city council didn't support that. Right? And so if you do, then I think we have a place to go with that together.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's call for public comment. City Clerk Karen on this item.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public would like to provide comment on item E1, presentation for the Sequoia Healthcare District update, participating in person, please complete a speaker card at that back table. Return to me at the clerk's desk. Participating virtually, please engage that hand feature, bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or a cell phone, please press *9 now. Currently have one speaker, so this will be the final call for public comment on our presentation item E1. Okay, so I will be calling on our first speaker, Pam Jones.
Good evening, Pam Jones, resident of Menlo Park, District 1, Bellhaven neighborhood. And I want to thank you, Vice Mayor Combs, for bringing up the large number of our Menlo Park city that is not included in the district. And it's probably because the district was decided in 1938, and all of that area had not been annexed to Menlo Park, so it would naturally be excluded. But I wanted to bring up some things about the Bellhaven neighborhood. Yes, residents from the Bellhaven neighborhood can go to the Ravenswood Family Health Clinic, and it's reasonably close, can get public transportation if you don't have a car. But to go to the Redwood City clinic where Samaritan House is, which will take people that are uninsured, is actually quite a jaunt to try and figure out how to get there from where we live, from the Bellhaven neighborhood. The Ravenswood Clinic does not accept uninsured, so that's a significant portion of residents that have to find some other place to go to. So I hope that you will particularly take the information about when the district was created back to the rest of the board, so that they understand why we have the problem that we do today, and that we can move forward in solving it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, seeing no further hands or cards, Vice Mayor, you may continue.
Thank you, Clerk Karen, and thank you, Ms. Jones, for your comment. Any additional comments or questions from council? Well, Mr. Kurtz, sorry, Ms. Kurtzman, thank you so much for the presentation. You said that it was your goal to engage city councils, and obviously you have been successful tonight. You have certainly engaged the Menlo Park City Council, but we really value your partnership and again, your willingness to come in and share with us today.
Thank you. And I appreciate the time and the interest. And I do hope we talk soon.
Okay. With that, we will we'll move on to item F, public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the city council on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the city council once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. In some instances, speaker time may be limited. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it is helpful. The city council cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the city council cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general direction. I will call for public comment at the appropriate time for members of the public to address the city council on any item under agenda sections, consent calendar, public hearing, regular business, or informational items. City Clerk Karen, please call for general public comment.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment for an item not on tonight's agenda, if you are participating in person, complete a speaker card at that back table and return to me at the clerk's desk. If you are participating virtually, please engage that hand feature in the bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 now. Currently seeing one speaker, so this will be the final call for public comment for items not on tonight's agenda. Okay, and our speaker will be Jenny Michelle.
Dear Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, honorable staff, neighbors, and members of the public, I'm Jenny Michelle, longtime D3 resident. Personal comments. Yesterday was the second anniversary of Dobbs, when women lost the basic human right to be in charge of their own bodies. June is my birthday month. This year, on my 45th birthday, I suffered a major cardiac event that was caught on my loop heart monitor. After rushing to emergency, I was admitted into Stanford for several days while teams of doctors and I came up with my health plan. Ultimately, we decided that a pacemaker was the best course of action. The entire experience was incredibly scary, humbling, intimate, and life-changing. The decision for my immediate and long-term health was made by us all together, but I made the final call for my body. After being discharged, the outpouring of love from you and other neighbors has been overwhelming and impactful. But no one acknowledged the elephant in the room of Project 2025. In reading Project 2025, it is proposing to eliminate core agencies I rely on professionally like NOAA, EPA, DHS, and FEMA. But today, it's the proposed elimination of the Department of Health and Human Services that alarm me the most. My pacemaker, the generator itself, has a battery life of about 10 years. I'll need another one around when our son turns 18. Project 2025 implies that I'm not my own person and asserts I might not be given my birthright to make medical decisions with my healthcare providers. In other words, I am not property of myself. It is reasonable to presume that I might not be able to get another pacemaker if Project 2025 is enacted. So have no doubt, if you love or care for a woman, any woman, like your mother, your sister, your friend, your lover, your colleague, your neighbor, your employee, you will vote against Project 2025. And you will vote for a woman's agency to make her own medical decisions with her providers, whether it be for her heart or her uterus. Today, I live like I have 10 years at most. Here's to making each moment count and loving each person as much as possible for as long as we can. I'd be the man, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Seeing no further hands or cards, Vice Mayor, you may continue.
Thank you, Clerk Karen, and thank you, Ms. Michelle, for your public comment. We'll move on now to the consent item and items G. Under the consent calendar, the city council may take action to approve routine business items in one motion unless a city council member, city staff member, or member of the public requests that an item be discussed or continued to a later date. City Clerk Karen, do we have any public comments on the consent calendar?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on our consent calendar items, G1, City Council meeting minutes, G2, an award of contract for citywide re-roofing services, or G3, two amendments for our city's on-call emergency water system services. If you are participating in person, please complete a speaker card at that back table. Return to me at the clerk's desk. Participating virtually, you can engage that hand feature bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or a cell phone, please press *9 now. And this will be the final call for public comment on our consent calendar items, G1 through G3. Seeing no hands or cards. Vice Mayor, you may continue.
Okay, then I'll bring it back to the partial virtual dais. Are there any comments or motions on the consent calendar? Oh, sorry, Mayor Taylor.
Motion to approve.
Right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Clerk Karen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So we have a motion on the floor by Mayor Taylor and a second by City Council Member Willison to approve the consent calendar. Any further City Council question or discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote, City Council Member Nash,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Combs,
Yes.
City Council Member Willison,
Yes.
City Council Member Dower,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Clerk Karen. With that, we'll move to items under H, public hearing. Public hearings are formal proceedings held in order to receive testimony from all interested parties on a proposed issue or action. The first public hearing, there will be two this evening, is adopt a resolution overruling protest, ordering the improvements, confirming the diagram area of assessment, and ordering the levy and collection of assessments for landscaping assessment district for fiscal year 24-25. Here to introduce the item is Management Analyst 2, Joanna Chen.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. I'm Joanna Chen, the Management Analyst for Public Works. Sitting next to me is Public Works Director Azalea Mitch. We're here today to discuss the next fiscal year's landscaping assessment district fees. To kick us off, here is some background information about the district. So in 1982, the voters approved Measure N to form the Landscaping Assessment District. A year later, the city established the district to provide proper street tree maintenance. In 1990, the city added an assessment for the repair and maintenance of sidewalks, curb, gutter, and parking strips. And then finally, in 1998, the voters approved a ballot measure to increase the district fees. So the district fees partially cover three city-provided services. The first one is the street tree maintenance, and those trees are trimmed in a 5-year rotating schedule. The residents can also submit city tree-related requests through our city's online platform called Act Mello. The second city-provided service is the street sweeping service, and that is to clean the streets by removing the fallen leaves and the tree debris. The last service we have here is the sidewalk, curb, gutter, and parking strip repair and replacement program. And so that is to repair and replace any public right-of-ways that is damaged by the city trees. And just to clarify, the parking lot, the parking strip is the area that is between the sidewalk and the street. And so these screenshots show that the district fees depends on the type of property, the number of trees, and the type of public improvement. And to summarize this presentation, the district fees for fiscal year 24-25 is proposed to increase by 3%. And the increase in cost accounts for the additional tree care services to address pests and disease, and an increase in the agreements for all three city-provided services, and the annual sidewalk replacement needs in the current backlog. The item before the council tonight is an annual action that is required by the city to continue the collection of the assessments. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Chen, for the presentation. Any clarifying questions from the city council before we open the public hearing? Okay. Seeing none, I would like to formally open the public hearing. City Clerk Karen, do we have any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on public hearing item H1, adopt a resolution overruling protests, ordering the improvements, conferring the diagram or area of assessment, and ordering the levy and collection of assessments for landscaping assessment district for fiscal year 2024-25. Participating in person, please complete a speaker card at that back table. Return to me at the clerk's desk. Participating virtually, engage that hand feature, bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 now. Currently have one speaker, so this will be the final call for public comment on public hearing item H1. Okay, and our speaker will be Pam Jones.
Good evening, Council, Vice Mayor, Mayor, Pam Jones again. And last couple of years, I've had questions about the tree assessments because I was curious as to why there's properties such as mine that did not have trees on it at the time were being charged for an assessment rate. And it was inconsistent with what other single-family properties were being charged. So this year took a peek at, well, how much do people pay in other parts of the city of Menlo Park where they actually have a lot of trees? And in some cases, it looked like it was not the same amount as what is assessed here for the same, lot size. And they didn't have trees that would intrude upon the sidewalk. So anyway, I guess my question is, how is it determined that we're actually charging the right properties the assessment rate, the appropriate assessment rate? Because it seems to me that it needs to be equitable. If you have trees in your area, you should be paying more than you do if you don't have many trees, because otherwise an area such as District 1 would then be subsidizing the trees in other districts. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Seeing no further hands or cards. Vice Mayor, you may continue.
All right, thank you, Clerk Heron. So I'll bring it back to the real and virtual dais. Well, first I'll close the public hearing, right? Thanks, I remember that. And then open it up to council discussion, so then bring it back to the dais. So Ms. Jones, thank you for the comment. And I think all my years on city council, I think every year I've heard you make a comment on this item. And so I very much appreciate your consistency and focus on this topic. And with that, I'll defer to staff, Ms. Chen or Ms. Mitch, to provide some answer or response to Mrs. Jones' question, which I know should be far from surprising, like I said, given her prior comments in years past.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, for your question. There is an ongoing edit and it is in progress currently.
Is there a sense of when that edit might end, and will it impact this assessment? It won't impact this assessment, right? So we're talking about an edit for an impact on future assessments?
So thank you for your comment, Azalea Mitch. Yes, it would impact the future assessment, and we're doing an inventory. We're reassessing the land uses and the numbers of trees based on these comments. So this year's request for proposals included an added scope to embark on a pretty comprehensive audit. So it's been taking a few months, but we expect it to be done in the next month or so. it's in progress, and then we will review and reassess for the following year.
So, okay, so certainly it'll be done, I guess, the most important thing, yeah, it'll be done before the next assessment. Okay, great. Okay, so I'll bring it back to the dais and see if there are any, I see Councilmember Dorr.
Thank you. Some follow-up questions on that. Would that mean with the potential re-look at this that rates could go down for some community members based on where they are? Or would it just be looking forward for fees that and how they adjust in the future? Or would there also be reductions that we could pursue maybe?
Possibly reductions based on the inventory assessments as it relates to the number of trees on the properties. Now, the district does include quite a few different components, but possibly if our findings indicate that there are adjustments that need to be made in terms of the number of trees.
Great. I'm so glad to hear that the city is pursuing this research, and I'm grateful to hear that you are in the process. I know you mentioned that in a month it will be done. I'm curious, when are the fees actually assessed, or when are they applied to residents? Is there a reason why we couldn't update our own code in the next few months once that is updated, so residents even this year could have the updated fees?
There is these fees go on the county's tax roll, the property tax roll. So we need to meet the county deadlines to get the fees on the tax roll. So that is the driving date. But we can go back and reassess with our consultants and see where they are and if there's a possibility to go ahead and make some changes.
Thanks for helping understand where the time limit is. I have another question on sidewalks, but I can also you can also come back to me if you'd like to, Vice Mayor.
I say go for it.
Okay. Yes. I know. I've talked to some residents about concerns of what is going on those parking strips that are also kind of serve as walkways, and I was just curious if city staff could briefly voice over what is considered city property versus private property, and how does that shape what the funding from the first fee, how does it shape what that can go towards?
Sure. So the property lines are typically extend to the front of the sidewalk. The sidewalk and the parking strip and then the roadway are public. However, our municipal code does place the responsibility for maintenance of the sidewalks on the frontage, the owner of the frontage property. So so that is the responsibility in terms of maintenance of the abutting property owner. Now, if a segment of the sidewalk is impacted by a city tree, that's when this landscaping assessment district does help us address tripping hazards and make sidewalk replacements, but they are only associated to the damage caused by that city tree. So everything else, however, is under the responsibility of the private property owner, even though it is a public sidewalk.
Thank you.
And just for clarity, going back to sort of the tree assessment, it's based on trees that are nominally in the public right of way, right? Not trees that are on private property. Although where the public right of way, some people have yards that are actually in the public right of way. And so they're just to be clear there, and I know you're gonna chime in, Ms. Mitch. It could be on either side of that sidewalk. It's not necessarily just on a strip, like, right? It could be in, that public tree could be in an area that you think of as your private property, but if you go and look at the county records, it's actually not.
Absolutely. We do have quite a few areas where typically the property line, the sidewalk marks the property line. However, there are yards that actually extend into the public right of way and then with a sidewalk following. So indeed, we do have parcels where that line is confusing, but our inventory does show the trees that are technically in the public right of way, although they may look like they're on private property.
For another clarification, the fees are not changing. What is being audited is actually how many trees a given property has. And so that what would change is how those fees that are will be assessed for a given property.
Yes, indeed. The fees are not, it's the total assessment that then gets applied on the property based on the inventory.
I'm happy to make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay,
I'm happy to second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. City Clerk Heron.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So we have a motion on the floor by City Councilmember Woolison and a second by City Councilmember Doer to adopt a resolution overruling protests, ordering the improvements, confirming the diagram area of assessment, and ordering the levy and collection of assessments. Any further City Council questions or discussions? Seeing none, by roll call vote, City Councilmember Nash,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Combs.
Yes.
City Councilmember Woolison.
Yes.
City Councilmember Doer.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Clerk Heron. All right, moving on to the second and final public hearing this evening. H2, consider and adopt a resolution approving a variance to reduce the subdivision ordinance front setback requirement for an addition to an existing single-story, single-family residence at 204 Elliott Drive. Here to introduce the item is Senior Planner Chris Turner. And we'll give him a minute to see it. Get seated.
Thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor. I'm Chris Turner, Senior Planner. I'm joined with Deanna Chow, Community Development Director. Today we'll be discussing a proposed variance from the subdivision ordinance at 204 Elliott Drive. So just to provide some context, typically in single-family zoning districts, the typical front setback is 20 feet measured from the front property line. However, for lots that are located on the outside of a curve of a radius of 100 feet or less, typically it's cul-de-sac properties, the front setback is established by the subdivision ordinance. So the subdivision ordinance says that the front property line is established where the property meets the minimum lot width for the applicable zoning district. And so where you have sometimes properties that are pie-shaped but very narrow, or have a large minimum lot width, this can often lead to situations where the required front setback is greater than the typical 20-foot front setback in single-family zoning districts. So the variance request today, the proposed project is a fairly small addition of about 151 square feet. It's on the right side of an existing single-story residence. The house would remain one story, and the addition would comply with all of the zoning ordinance standards. So rear setback, side setback. It would comply with the minimum 20-foot setback. The addition is 20-foot front setback. The addition is actually about 53 feet from the front property line. However, since it is located on the curve of Elliott Drive, it is subject to the subdivision ordinance front setback. And in this case, due to the size and shape of the property, the property never actually meets the minimum lot width of the R1U zoning district of 65 feet. So technically the entire property is within the front setback. So the addition requires a variance from the subdivision ordinance. The subdivision ordinance requires 3 findings to be made. Generally, first is that granting the variance would not be a special privilege inconsistent with limitations on other properties in the area. Second is that special circumstances applicable to the property, so the size, shape, topography, et cetera, deprive the property of the privileges enjoyed by other properties in the area. And then third is that the variance, instead of the strict reading of the code, actually carries out the spirit of the code in allowing the development to occur. So staff has determined that all three of these findings can be made here. Therefore, we recommend approval of this variance. And that is all. I am open for questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Turner. Just to make sure I'm clear, any project on this parcel would require a variance, right?
Technically, yes. The whole property is in the front setback, so any additional development would require a variance.
So you said technically, but it's in actuality, yes.
It
right?
is, yes, in
So
actuality.
anyone who owned this property wanted to do, like, that required any sort of use permit, they would be asking for a variance, correct?
A variance, yes, not a use
yeah.
permit
Okay.
in this case.
Yeah. Any questions from Councilmember Dorr?
Yes, thank you. Does this lot count as a substandard lot? Is that related to one of the reasons why this has to go through the city council as opposed to a ministerial check mark? Or is it this curvature, just the curvature, or is it also a substandard lot? Just curious.
So the lot also does not meet the minimum lot area width depth of the R1U zoning district. The way the definition of substandard lot is written, since it is a one-story house, it's technically not substandard. If it was a two-story house, it would be a little bit of nuance there. The reason this is in front of the city council rather than being ministerial or going to the planning commission for review is that the subdivision ordinance specifically gives the city council the power to approve this. It isn't something, it's a discretionary action, so we can't approve it just through a standard building permit. And then the subdivision ordinance, where it talks about the variance, doesn't grant the planning commission the authority to grant these. It goes straight to the city council.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. And how much money and time did this cost the homeowner to do this?
So variances have an initial deposit of $3,000, and then staff time is billed against that. So additional invoices could be incurred. I would have to check. I think this one will end up being somewhere in the $4,000 to $5,000 range.
And do you know approximately how much time did this add on to this project?
The application was submitted, I believe in January or March, somewhere early this year. They had submitted a building permit application towards the end of last year. My colleague was reviewing it and discovered that it needed this variance. So it took some time to put together the application for the variance, and then we're about 5 months into the review process.
Thanks.
And just add and appreciate all the staff's work on this for 151 square feet, which is certainly one of the more modest of renovations or additions, and certainly in Menlo Park. Okay, we're going to send this to public comment. City Clerk Karen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on public hearing item H2, consider and adopt a resolution approving a variance to reduce the subdivision ordinance front setback requirement for an addition to an existing single-family residence at 204 Elliott Drive. Participating in person, please complete a speaker card at the back table. Return to me at the clerk's desk. If participating virtually, please engage that hand feature bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or a cell phone, please press *9 now. And this will be the final call for public comments on public hearing item H2. Okay, we have one speaker. And is it Nelson? Okay, please introduce yourself and go right ahead.
On that. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on that. I am the homeowner. We bought this property about a year ago, and I've been working with Chris and the city, and they've been very helpful. But I do resonate with your comment. It added a significant amount of cost for what is a minute modification. Chris is correct. I think from the city perspective, it was another $3,000, $3,500, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? There was an arborist report, that's $2,000. That was also a property boundary measurement. And because the monument on the street was missing, instead of costing $3,500, that was $7,500, right? Because they needed them to reference to monument on another street. And the homeowner carries all that. In addition to that, of course, the mortgage keeps piling up every month. So I resonate with that. But the city and Chris in particular have been extremely helpful with that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Seeing no further hands or cards, Vice Mayor, you may continue. Oh,
Right.
apologies. It looks like we did have an additional hand raise. Okay. So I'm turning to our Zoom participants. This is the final call for public comment on public hearing item H2. And I'm seeing two hands, one for Deborah Lane, one for Adina Levin. And so Deborah.
Am I on?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Yeah, Nelson has been an amazing client and the city has been very helpful. But I thought since there was questions in this direction, I was not told at the beginning of the process that this would need a variance and it's not, or to go to the city council. And I read the code and it's very hard. It's not easily found that this is a subdivision issue. And in addition, I just thought you should know, in addition to all the costs Nelson was talking about, there were my fees because the completion of a development proposal and the detail that's wanted and the writing of reasons, and it takes a lot more of my time. So I think I'm just telling you this to help you operate if you're interested, to possibly review this. I don't know if you can, but like I said, Chris has been incredibly helpful and we appreciate being seen tonight, and we hope you'll approve our project. We think it's reasonable.
Thank you for your comment. And our final speaker will be Adina Levin.
Hello, good evening. Adina Levin, Menlo Park resident. And I seem to recall that in the city council prioritization this year, there was a mention of putting somewhere in the queue the long-awaited initiative to streamline house remodels. And I don't know, given the technicalities here, whether this kind of project would be covered under the streamlining of house remodels. It does seem like there is a little bit of a complicated staff project management trade-off. We as a city have a lot of kind of really weighty work relating to implementing the housing element and making sure that we are fulfilling our obligations to community members of a variety of income levels and obligations to the state And anything that we are doing that is both, sparing homeowners inconvenience and cost, with really extremely minimal, if any, trade-offs for anything else in the city. On the one hand, increasing the efficiency seems like a fair amount of state saving for staff and saving for our residents. But then it will take some time up front to look through all the different, ordinances and subdivisions and codes and so on in order to be able to come up with a proper streamlining. So I do hope that this is something that City Council and staff look at when is the most appropriate time in the foreseeable future to take on the streamlining of house remodels, so that the city is able to put its time and money into some really important goals for the city and reduce the amount of convenience and cost we impose on our residents without a really major civic purpose. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, seeing no further hands or cards. Vice Mayor, you may continue.
All right, thank you, Clerk Karen. So with that, I will close the public hearing and open this up for City Council. Oh, we haven't been discussing for City Council discussion or a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Wilson.
Yeah, I just want to thank the homeowner for sharing your perspective, for the architect, and always Ms. Levin has good points. This is bonkers. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Welcome to your new home. To the Vice Mayor's point, we know there's a lot of remodeling going on in town. This does seem very modest. And it's just some things just kind of have to go through this so we can look at it from a policy level to see kind of what tweaks need to happen. But obviously, I think as you're hearing from just our line of questioning, this is something that we are now aware of, and I know staff is aware of. I'm glad Mr. Turner has been so helpful. And so I know there was a comment in the staff report about a future item to prevent modifications. I think I'm very in support of the work for the single family design review to streamline that, but I think it is important, as hopefully that gets some traction and we can start working on that, that it kind of expands a little to find out what other little nooks and crannies lie in different municipal codes that are giving homeowners these kinds of headaches, because I don't think that's our intention at all. And this was a really interesting item to come before us, but I'm sad it had to come before us at all. So yeah, I'm fully in support of approving this.
Councilmember Dor.
Yes, just want to echo support for what Councilmember Willison shared of wanting to know how can we reduce the burdens that were put on the applicants, on the architect, on the staff, given how limited staff time is and other projects that are demanding and could use that incredible brain power that we have on the city staff. From the city staff, I would love to see us adjust this so this kind of extended process is not needed. And similarly with substandard lots, which is a separate but also important issue here.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Dor. Mr. Turner, really quickly, so a question. So this parcel never meets the setback width, correct? And so anything would require a variance. Like assuming that there was like enough room for a property owner here to do an ADU using state provisions, would that be something that would still have to go through the variance, or does those state provisions as it relates to ADU, would it override this subdivision requirement for a variance? This is just, my curiosity.
So my initial reaction is, since it is a front setback and technically detached ADUs are allowed in the front setback if they're what we call a subdivision E sub ADU, so smaller than 800 square feet, no taller than 16 feet, etc. That would not need the variance. That could just be a standard building permit. If it was an attached ADU, those are not allowed in front setback, so that would likely need either a variance or a use permit, some form of discretionary review.
Okay, cool. I was just curious. Is there a motion from anyone? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Nash.
I will move this to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Right, so Clerk Karen, we have a first and a second.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. So we have a motion on the floor by City Councilmember Nash and a second by Mayor Taylor to adopt a resolution to approve the request for a variance to reduce the subdivision ordinance front setback requirement to allow the construction of a one-story addition to an existing one-story single-family residence in the R-1-U zoning district at 204 Elliott Drive. Any further City Council question or discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote, City Councilmember Nash,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Combs,
Yes.
City Councilmember Wollaston,
Yes.
City Councilmember Doer,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Clerk Karen. With that, we'll move on to the regular business portion of our meeting. Under regular business, the City Council considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require City Council approval. By one, which is the first regular business item, adopt resolution for fiscal year 2024-25, adopting budget and capital improvements plan, establishing appropriations, limit amending salary schedule effective July 14, 2024, extending rate assistance program through June 2025, and accept award authority and bid requirements through June 2025. Here to introduce the item is Assistant Administrative Services Director, Jared Hansen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Combs. Jared Hansen, Assistant Administrative Services Director. Thank you to the council and members of city staff for being here as well. This item is the fiscal year 24-25 budget adoption. And one correction to the staff report in the impact on city resources, it mentions that the use of unassigned fund balance is 768,773. That number should actually be 868,773. So one correction to that before we begin.
Excuse me, can you tell us what page it's on?
Yes, that is page none. No, sorry, that's the wrong one. It is page 4.
Thank you.
All right, beginning with the budget adoption. First, we're going to talk through the priorities of the council, talk about the budget changes and what that does to the forecast, talk about the resolutions and the actions that are needed, and then ask for a final direction from City Council and approval of the budget. To start off with, the City Council priorities, as you're well aware, are climate action, emergency and disaster preparedness, housing, and safe routes. And these council priorities affect the budget and determine how we program items into the budget. So as we start through the budget updates and what has changed since the June 11th council meeting, there have been only a couple changes. The first change that happened was the transfer of $576,000 from the general fund to the capital improvement program fund for the slurry seal project. On the June 18th meeting, there was a transfer of $1.75 million approved to support the general capital improvement program. This means that the general fund projected surplus is updated from the 3.1 that was presented on June 11th to the 806,000 that is now projected. So with the change to the general fund there, the additional changes since June 11th, we did, based on the June 18th meeting, create the Environmental Justice Program Implementation Fund and are recommending a $1 million transfer from the Bayfront Mitigation Fund to that Environmental Justice Program to start that fund. As we look to the current future, we know that there's going to be the amendments that's going to be possibly needed for the Menlo Park Police Officers Association based on the negotiations and MOU updates. And then as we get into the environmental justice program implementation and projects are identified, that will need, those funds will then need to be appropriated and brought back to council for consideration. Looking at what the change does to the 5-year forecast, because of those two transfers, the 576 and the 1.75, the surplus again is projected to be the 806,000. And that means that the full fund balance trends downward from 34.6 million in 24-25 proposed budget to the 4.5 in fiscal year 29-30. The emergency contingency is funded at the minimum policy level of 15% through 2025 and 2026. And in the 2027 fiscal year, that falls below that minimum level until it's no longer funded in 2029. The economic stabilization is funded fully until the fiscal year 28-29 when it falls below the minimum. And that's what you'll see from these two graphs here. There's your emergency contingency. And there is a tiny, tiny bar at the end of the 27-28. I know it's very difficult to see, but it's like a minuscule amount that's there, but it's there. And then for the economic stabilization, that's that graph there. And we'll talk about the resolutions that are before you. There's 5 resolutions that are before you tonight. The first one is to adopt the fiscal year 24-25 budget and capital improvement plan, which formally appropriates the funds and allows for expenditures during the fiscal year. This resolution also will establish the Environmental Justice Program Implementation Fund. The second is the appropriations limit. This is an annual appropriations limit that meets the California Government Code requirements. This is also referred to as the GAN limit. The next one is the salary schedule amendments. This updates the salary schedule pursuant to current memorandums of understanding and is effective beginning the first full pay period following July 1st. The next resolution is the rate assistance program. This rate assistance program provides equity and helps low-income households cover basic living expenses and extends that solid waste and water utilities assistance program through June 30, 2025. The final resolution is for the award authority. This establishes the award authority bid requirements and the approving authority for the fiscal year based on an annual inflationary factor, and there was no change from the prior year in this, so this just continues that through the next fiscal year. At this time, we're asking City Council to provide any final direction on the proposed fiscal year 24-25 budget and adopt the proposed resolutions. And that's the end of the presentation. The budget is available online at the city's website through OpenGov. If there's any questions at this time, I'll open that up for you.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Hanson. City Clerk Karen, let's call for public comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Could you clarify what you said the number was on page 4?
Yes, in the impact on city resources, the last sentence in that paragraph says 768, 773. That number should have been 868, 773.
So
it's just a typo.
I thought that it should have been 800, 818, 773.
Double check that here.
That's the number that's on page 3. The number that Councilmember Nash just mentioned.
You are correct. It is
Correct.
the 818-773. I apologize on that yet.
Thank you.
Any other additional clarifying questions? Great. Clerk Karen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on regular business item I-1, adopt resolutions for fiscal year 2024-25, adopting budget and capital improvement plan, establishing appropriation limits, amending salary schedule effective July 14th, 2024, extending rate assistance program through June 2025, and accept award authority and bid requirements through June 2025. Participating in person, please engage or complete a speaker card at that back table. Return to me at the clerk's desk. Participating virtually, please engage that hand feature bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or a cell phone, please press *9 now. We currently have 3 raised hands, so this will be the final call for public comment on regular business item I-1. Okay, our first speaker will be James Pistorino, followed by Catherine Dumont.
I'm hoping you can hear me. This is James Pistorino.
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you. Hey, especially in light of the comments that were made the last time that the budget came up, I just wanted the council and the members of the public to be aware that since 2008, as reported in the annual comprehensive financial report, the population of the city of Menlo Park has increased by about 5%. At the same time, the number of approved FTEs for the city of Menlo Park has increased by 17%. And likewise, the revenues into the general fund have increased in real terms about 14%. So I do think it's important to note that those are significant increases in the total number of employees the city of Menlo Park has, and in the total revenues the general fund has taken in over that period of time. In my view, the city of Menlo Park has a spending problem and not a revenue problem. And I hope the council members and the members of the public will keep that in mind going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Catherine Dumont, followed by Adina Levin.
Good evening, Council. Catherine Dumont, Menlo Park City resident. I wanted to speak to the approval of the flock cameras budget, and I'm not aware of any conditions that have been put into place around that program, but I would really like to see some. It sounds like it's an annual expenditure, and I'm concerned about the efficacy of the program in law enforcement, and also the transparency for the public to know how data is being used, and make sure that it's not disparately impacting certain members of the community. There was a discussion about audits being conducted with the Atherton Police, by the Atherton Police Department. I think that there should be reporting of to the public how the data is being used, what kinds of alerts are being acted upon, and who is accessing the data, and how it's being shared with other police departments and other law enforcement agencies around the country. And then making sure that there are audits being done for not necessarily by another police department, but by some other body, that making sure that historically marginalized communities and constitutionally protected activities are not being targeted, and that they're not disproportionately being used. and let's see, the termination of use of access by employees when it's no longer necessary. So in general, some kinds of how the data is being used, is it really effective? Because I haven't seen data that says this really prevents crime or is necessarily a great tool. And if we're going to spend money year over year on this, I think it's really important. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And our final speaker will be Adina Levin.
Hello, good evening, council members. I am glad to see the Environmental Justice Fund being set up for the start of the implementation of the environmental justice element. Having spoken in favor of starting to fund the environmental justice element in support of the community of Belhaven that has done so much work on that. I'm glad to see that moving forward. And also in regard to an earlier comment and the staffing and FTEs, I have some pretty vague memories of, earlier on when I was just starting to pay attention to the city, and there was some strategy that about, really trying to refrain from hiring FTEs and to rely very, very heavily on temporary contractors. And it is possible that saves some cash and also results in some pretty difficult situations in terms of maintaining institutional memory and being able to carry out goals of the city year after year after year, like implementing the transportation master plan or implementing the housing element or implementing the environmental justice element. So I think that there are some trade-offs in terms of having staff that can continue to implement the priorities that the city council has established. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Seeing no further hands or cards, Vice Mayor, you may continue.
Thank you, Clerk Karen, and thank you for the public comments. And I'll take the liberty of just adding one additional comment onto Ms. Levin's comment, not just about the value to the city, but the value you see and invest in people when you decide that you want a staff that's FTEs and receive full benefits versus having a staff that's made up of mostly contractors and not receiving benefits. So it's not just the value to the institution, but the value you see in the labor that people provide that I think is important. And so, and I too have seen that transition or evolution in the city. Not saying that completely answers that comment, and I think it's worth exploring. But I do think I'm very much in for when we have roles that should be filled by FTEs, that they should be filled by FTEs. So with that, I'll bring it back to the dais and see if there's any comments or motions. Councilmember Nash.
So responding to Ms. Dumont's questions about the ALPRs, my understanding is that this is a budget, and please staff correct me, but this is a budget line item. There will still be policy discussions and decisions made. So this is just so that the money is there when the time comes to implement them.
Yes, thank you for the question. You are correct. When the contract comes to the City Council for approval, policies will be brought forth at the same time for additional council feedback.
Councilmember Dorr.
Building off, thank you, Vice Mayor. Building off of what the Vice Mayor shared about the value of labor, to just reflecting on this entire budget, it is a lot of money here that we're talking about to support our city and to support our community moving forward. I think this yearly budget process is also a helpful moment to reflect on all the city staff has achieved, not just in the last year, but if you look at the longer term, at the last 10, 20 years, of all the new work the staff are taking on, thinking about environmental justice, climate action, improving street infrastructure to address major safety concerns across the city, to invest in affordable and safe housing, to bring in new technologies as they've come up. I think there's a lot to celebrate of what the city staff have done to make our city a vibrant and a vibrant, beautiful place to live. And so grateful for this. I think also seeing the emergency contingency and the operating surplus and economic stabilization charts are very helpful and signal too that we have a long way to go to think about how can we explore and support additional revenue generation moving forward, whether that's through different creative means that are kind of laid out here as some proposals that we've talked about previously. That is top of mind. And lastly, just want to echo also support and excitement that there are specific things called out here, like the efforts to create a fund to support and ensure that while we have an environmental justice element, there's a lot needed to do to fund into that. And so I'm grateful that there's this explicit calling out of funds for that.
Thank you, Councilmember Dorr. If there are no other council comments, I'll move that we adopt the resolutions for fiscal year 2024 to 25. And hopefully I don't have to say all those other things. Sorry, Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Combs. And I am asking to actually bifurcate the resolution to amend the salary schedule from the overall motion so that we can vote on it independently. And I'll make my comments once we vote on that matter. Thank you.
Okay, so if my motion still stands, then I'm okay with amendment that removes the salary schedule, as long as staff says that that is fine. So I move all the resolutions except for the salary schedule. And then I'm looking for a second.
I second.
Okay. So Clerk Karen, you have a first and a second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So we have a motion on the floor by Vice Mayor Combs and a second by City Councilmember Dorr to adopt the following resolutions: establishing award levels and bid requirements, resolution adopting fiscal year 2024-25 budget and CIP, resolution establishing the appropriation limit, resolution extending the solid waste and water rate assistant program through June of 2025, and accept award memo for authority and bid requirements through June 2025. Any further City Council question or discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote. City Councilmember Nash?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Combs?
Yes.
City Councilmember Willison?
Yes.
City Councilmember Dorr?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Clerk Karen. So now we'll move to the salary schedule. And so Mayor Taylor, did you want to make specific comments on this? Or did you just?
Yes.
Okay, please go.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm comfortable making the motion, even though I will not be supporting the salary schedule until we start paying a living wage for all of our employees, especially starting with our child care teachers. And that is my comment. And I'll make the motion.
Okay, so we have a first, and it's okay for the mayor to make the motion, right? But she's not ultimately going to be supportive. That's good, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so thank you for the comment, Mayor Taylor, and for the motion. Do we have a second on the motion?
Yeah, I appreciate the mayor's comment. You've been a strong advocate of this position. I respect you for that. And with that, I'll second the motion.
Okay, Clerk Karen, you have a first and a second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I have a motion on the floor by Mayor Taylor and a second by City Councilmember Willison to adopt a resolution amending the salary schedule effective July 14th, 2024. Any further City Council question or discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote, City Councilmember Nash?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Combs?
Yes.
City Councilmember Willison?
Yes.
City Councilmember Dorr?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
No.
And the motion passes with Mayor Taylor dissenting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Clerk Karen. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the next regular business agenda item. I too waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance adding chapter 13.32 wireless facilities in the public right of way to Title 13 Streets, Sidewalks and Utilities of the Municipal Code. Adopt a resolution with small wireless facilities design, citing, citing engineering standards, approve the use of a master license agreement template, and waive the first reading and introduce an uncodified ordinance adopting certain fees relating to the wireless facilities permit and site license fee. Here to introduce the item is Associate Engineer Edris Rangin. And so I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Idris Rangin, an engineer for the Public Works Department. And the item before you tonight is to introduce the ordinances related to small wireless facilities within the public right-of-way. Next slide, please. Staff has 5 recommendations for City Council tonight. The first with 2 changes. The first is to introduce waive further reading of an ordinance, adding chapter 13.32 small wireless facilities in the public right-of-way to Title 13 of the City Muni Code. The change being detailed site and engineering plan for the proposed small wireless facilities installation, including all related equipment necessary for its operation, signed and stamped by a licensed or registered engineer that depict all existing and proposed improvements, equipment, and conditions related to the proposed project. Second, a resolution with small wireless facilities design, setting, and engineering standards. Third, the use of a master license agreement or an MLA. Fourth, with a change, introduce and waive further reading of an codified ordinance adopting certain fees relating to the wireless facilities permit and site license fee, with the following modification: required deposit of $5,000 per application. And lastly, to find the adoption of the ordinances and resolution exempt from Sequoia. Next slide, please. On November 16, 2021, as well as March 12, 2024, city staff provided an informational item on small wireless facilities to the council, and council provided direction to develop the ordinance and the master license agreement presented to me. Next slide, please. So here we have a picture showing what a small cell site looks like compared to a macro cell site. The small cell site covers up to 1,500 square feet versus a larger macro site can go up to miles. Next slide, please. The proposed ordinance will create a new small wireless facilities permit and will be processed as one application per facility, and any work in the public right-of-way will also be subject to a special encroachment permit. In addition, we will utilize the master license agreement on city-owned structures, and it will have a site license fee of $270 annually per FCC. Next slide, please. To summarize the proposed design, setting, and engineering standards, the major items being the antenna height is to not exceed 5 cubic feet. That includes the shroud and cantana. In addition, per FCC, the volume of the antenna shall not exceed 3 cubic feet. And all facilities, all small wireless facilities, will be painted mustard brown or match with primary background. Next slide, please. So here's an existing utility pole with an antenna on top of the pole and equipment on the bottom. As you can see, the antenna will include a smooth transition between pole and antenna. The conduit, mounting brackets, and other hardware will be hidden in a cantana or in a shroud. all conduits, wires, and other hardware will be located internally within the pole. And again, everything will be painted mesa brown to match the color of the pole. Next slide, please. Here's an example of a city street light or a street light. In this case, we have the antenna, a couple of antennas on top of the pole. However, the equipment is above ground in this green concealed enclosure. FCC states that this enclosure or structure shall not exceed a height 5 feet and a total footprint of 15 square feet. And again, color to match or blend with primary background or surrounding areas, as in this case with landscaped areas. Next slide, please. In conclusion, staff recommends that the council introduce and waive further reading of the ordinance adding chapter 13.32 to City Municipal Code Title 13. With the change mentioned previously, adopt a resolution with small wireless facilities, the design setting and standards, use of a master license agreement, introduce with change and waive further reading of uncodified ordinance, adopting certain fees related to the wireless facility, and find the adoption of the ordinance exempt from Sequoia. And this concludes my presentation. Thanks to you. Oh, sorry. We will have a second meeting that is tentatively scheduled for City Council meeting July 9th for reading and adoption. If adopted, it will go into effect 30 days after adoption. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Rangine. Any clarifying questions from the council? Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Combs. I have two follow-up questions, Idris, and thank you for the presentation. One is, how will the sites be determined? And the second is, how was the fee determined?
Andres, are you able to return on screen for the question from Mayor Taylor? Perfect, thank you.
Sorry, just having technical difficulties. So in response to the fees, the city looked at other jurisdictions nearby, reached out to cities that process this fee to determine what an estimated permit fee will be. As far as engineering review goes, inspection and required on-call consultants to review certain reports and the industry. And it's also based on our time and material. So it's although it is $5,000, the fee is based as a time and material, not a fixed cost. So that's how that was determined. And I'm sorry, what was the other question you had?
How will the sites be determined? Where would these antennas be located?
So the FCC states that facilities can be included on any city-owned infrastructure, such as streetlights, PG&E poles, or traffic signals.
Thank you.
And so just a quick follow-up. Oh, did we lose him again? So just to follow up, Mr. Rangine, on the mayor's question. And so we have to comply with the FTC rules. And so in theory, like the carriers get to pick and we don't have, once we have this policy in place, we don't have any ability to deny a site or that they have picked as long as it fits along with these other regulations. And
that is correct.
And if I may add, as Elliott Mitch, Public Works Director, indeed, the applicant determines the location, the device, the pole, whether a PG&E pole or a street light or traffic, And as long as they meet our permit requirements, we go through that process. But in terms of selection and coverage, that's really based on the applicant's assessment.
Okay, and their right exists whether we approve the proposals before us or not? Like if we didn't approve this? Like,
Right. Correct. They're currently, the FCC rules are clear. What we're missing in Menlo Park are the design standards. Yes. And the permit process.
And sorry, Councilmember Dor.
Thank you. $5,000 is for deposit for application. That is separate from the $20,000 for the actual permit.
So if I could clarify, the changes that we're proposing, the previous number that was used was based on multiple applications. We are therefore clarifying two aspects of the ordinances. One is that it is the application reflects one site. And so therefore the deposit is based on a single site, not multiple.
Okay, so 5,000 for a single site, and then it would go up from there.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dor. Any council comments or questions? Sure. Okay, yeah.
So one last clarifying question, and that's, so homeowners, business owners do not have any ability to modify or to basically have change where the siding is because of the FCC requirements, so that essentially.
Right. The way that the FCC rules are designed, basically locations are, they're based on assessments to provide better coverage. So we do not have the ability to regulate the locations. Our ability is really to focus on the aesthetic components of the facilities themselves.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to public comment. Clerk Karen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on regular business item I2, waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance adding chapter 13.32 wireless facilities in the public right of way to title 13 street sidewalks and utilities of the Municipal Code, adopt a resolution with small wireless facilities design, siting, engineering standards, approve the use of master license agreement template, and waive the first reading and introduce an uncodified ordinance adopting certain fees related to the wireless facilities permit and site license fee. If you are participating in chambers, please complete a speaker card at that back table. Return to me at the clerk's desk. Participating virtually, please engage that hand feature, bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 now. I currently have one card, so this will be the final call for public comment on regular business item I2. Okay, we have the one speaker. So Michael, if you want to come right back on up. And it's Michael Cintran.
Hello, Council. My name is Hello, Council. My name is Michael Cintron. I'm a permitting manager with a company called Counsel, and we build and deploy these types of small cell facilities. So I'm just wanted to be here to thank the staff for their work on the proposals. I know it's a lot of work and they've done a great job. I also wanted to thank them for their responsiveness to our requests that we had sent to them for clarification of the city's proposed fee deposits and the changes that they presented to you today that provide clarity for both the staff and for applicants such as ourselves. We're looking forward to working with the staff on our proposed project in the city and bringing next generation connectivity to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Seeing no further hands or cards, Vice Mayor, you may continue.
Thank you, Clerk Karen. So a question for me, does staff have no ability to restrict sort of the clustering of these items? And is the only limit, like the limit to which a private company would be willing to pay to sort of cluster, but there's no ability for us if we see that these units are being, concentrated in a certain area of the city. And I'm not saying I have no awareness or understanding that that's an issue today, but certainly not. Last week, the whole council discussion was on the environmental justice element and aspects of which historically certain things have been concentrated in some areas, whether they are an absence of resources or other things that might be considered to have like overall sort of negative or unclear impacts for a community. So I don't know if that's you or the assistant city attorney or whoever.
I can maybe answer part of that question. What we have seen as of present day, we have seen proposals on the installation of future facilities that are not clustered. So that is what we do know in terms of improving coverage. The proposals they're preliminary, but we haven't seen a cluster of concern. But as it relates to the location, maybe assistant attorney can chime in, but we do not have the ability to then regulate that if it were to happen.
Just to add to that, I concur. In terms of clustering and the ability to provide service, we would have to analyze the applications as they come in. We can look into that a little bit further if you'd like us to and see if the city has any ability, to require spacing out, but I don't believe that we do. And we do have regulations, regarding co-location, but that's really a different issue.
Okay, yeah, I'm not asking if certainly if staff doesn't see that it's an issue, but I do think there should be some mindfulness about like across the city, like whether there is some concentration or not. Is there any additional comments or questions from Council Mayor Taylor?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Combs. I don't know if the staff have any information about any health impacts or if there's been any studies about health impacts.
I'm happy to start this, Mayor Taylor, if I may, and then defer to staff as well. When wireless started and these regulations, were going into effect, and this is going back and dating myself a little bit, there were a lot of concerns about EMFs and the types of emissions that were coming off of these facilities. And I believe that the regulations that have been adopted and put into place were a reaction to some of those concerns. So I can't address, your question as to specific health impacts. There's been a lot of study done on this. And we would have to rely on that type of information, but happy to defer to staff if they have additional input.
The information that we have read upon in terms of the FCC releasing, there are, based on present day studies, no known adverse health impacts with respect to these installations. And the health impacts are, or if there are concerns, we do not have the ability to regulate or deny based on concerns of that nature.
So, thank you. I appreciate the information. So that part I understand. We cannot deny an application for a cell tower based on concerns for Menlo Park residents' health. That part I'm clear about. But what we do have control over is what the fees are. Is that true, or does the FCC control that as well?
If I may, Mayor Taylor, on that one, the FCC has opined that with respect to fees like we're proposing tonight on the wireless facility permitting fees, that they the city can recover its cost of service for those non-recurring fees so long as the city can show that the fees are a reasonable assumption of cost and those costs themselves are reasonable and that they're non-discriminatory. Hence, proposing the time and materials basis lets us ensure that our costs are based on the time that the city staff is putting into the permitting of these facilities.
Understood. So is it possible to include a health impact fee? Since we don't know.
I don't believe that would fit within the parameters of what the FCC has indicated is allowable with respect to the permitting of these types of facilities.
And so this doesn't need council approval. It needs to happen anyway. So if I vote no on it, then it's still going to happen.
We do need council approval for all of the items that we have in front of you this evening. What we're trying to allow is for the city to have some control over the design of these types of facilities, the manner in which permits are applied for and issued, and then establishing the fees.
Thank you.
I'm curious if there might be a way to, is there a requirement for how we say we'll spend the funds that are received for each individual location for the permits?
The fees are based on cost recovery, so they actually just pay for the time that it takes to review the applications.
And so no other additional fees could be just added onto that. It has to be complete cost recovery. I'm following the line of thinking of Mayor Taylor and wondering if there's any other way that this could create additional benefit for our communities.
Right, the fees cannot be prohibitive, and so therefore they reflect the cost.
Okay, there's that saying, you can't fight City Hall. I think it should be, you can't fight the FCC. So with that, are there any motions from the council?
Yeah, I'm
Councilmember?
happy to make a motion to waive the first reading, introduce the ordinance, adopt the resolution, and approve other associated items related to this. Do I need to say anything specific, Assistant?
If
City Attorney?
I may, apologies for the interruption. We would just need to know if your motion includes the modifications suggested by staff.
And the motion includes the modifications suggested by staff.
I'll second. Mayor Taylor.
Thank you. In an effort to get this in, is it possible for a friendly amendment that includes information about health impacts? Regardless if the FCC approves it or not, Menlo Park residents should be aware.
I'm not clear what that would look like.
Neither am I. So I'm not sure if staff or the Assistant City Attorney has any suggestions that can help in this process for me. Thank you.
Perhaps we can direct city staff to let us know if they uncover any health impacts.
Sure. And I didn't know if the mayor was suggesting that we make information that's publicly available, available to staff, whether it's through some kind of link to the FCC determinations. I'm looking to staff to see if they think this is possible, or something along those lines. I mean, we don't have any other information other than what's already publicly available through the FCC, I believe.
So correct, we can revise our webpage and provide the appropriate links to the FCC's assessments and studies. They do regulate the frequency, and we can make that publicly available.
That works. Thank you.
A quick question for Assistant City Attorney. Is this something we can take as direction from City Council, or should it be included in the full motion?
I think we can take that direction.
Thank you.
Okay, City Clerk Harron, you have a first from Council, a first from Councilmember Wallace and a second from me.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So we have a motion on the floor by City Councilmember Willison and a second by Vice Mayor Combs to introduce and waive further reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 13.32 wireless facilities in the public right-of-way to Title 13 Streets, Sidewalks, and Utilities of the Municipal Code with modifications provided by staff. Adopt a resolution with small wireless facilities design, setting, and engineering standards for small wireless facilities in the public right-of-way. Approve the use of a master license agreement template and introduce and waive further reading of an uncodified ordinance adopting certain fees relating to the wireless facilities permit and site license fee with modifications provided by staff. Any further city council questions or discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote, City Councilmember Nash,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Combs,
Yes.
City Councilmember Willison,
Yes.
City Councilmember Dower,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
No.
and the motion passes with Mayor Taylor dissenting. Thank you.
Great, thank you, City Clerk Karen. With that, we'll move on to items J, informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the City Council in staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the City Council. Informational items are not action items. However, a City Council member, city staff member, or member of the public may request to make a comment or ask questions on any of the informational items. Clerk Karen, do we have any public comments on the informational items?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on informational item J1, City Council agenda topics, if you are participating in person, complete a speaker card at the back table, return to me at the clerk's desk. If you are participating virtually, please engage that hand feature, bottom of your screen. Calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 now. This will be the final call for public comment on our informational items J1. Seeing no hands or cards, Vice Mayor, you may continue.
All right, thanks. With that, we'll move on to item K, City Manager Report. Here to introduce the City Manager Report is City Manager Justin Murphy.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor and the City Council. So this evening, I'd just like to express my thanks to the council for adopting the budget by the prescribed timeline so that we can kind of continue the good work that we're looking to do. So I just want to express our thanks to the council, the community, and the staff that worked on getting the budget to where it was. Thank you.
Great, thank you, City Manager Murphy. With that, we'll turn to item L, City Council member reports. Any reports from City Council members since the June 11th City Council meeting? Councilmember Willison.
Yeah, so I'm the representative on the Caltrain Local Policymaker Group, LPMG, and just wanted to make sure that the community knows that the new Caltrain electric trains will be running full steam ahead on September 21st. So mark your calendars because that's the day we will just see the new trains. So it'll be exciting.
Well, thanks for that report. Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Combs. My report out is about attending the Palo Alto Airport meeting. There is a discussion about the Palo Alto Airport Long-Range Facilities and Sustainability Plan. I believe that folks in Menlo Park need to fill out the survey, and I will figure out through the city clerk and the city manager of how to make that available. That meeting was on this past Thursday, and the survey is due by July 15th. My second report out is about attending the ABAG Budget and Work Program this past Friday, June 21st. There was discussion about SB 7, which is RENA reform. I'm sure that got actually quite a bit of feedback. There are 28 cities that have appealed RENA, which I thought was interesting. But most importantly, we talked about sustainability, climate, and sea level rise, and also about data, what's happening in the Bay Area when it comes to the market, housing market, and also energy. And that's my report out.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Any additional report outs? Okay, with that, we'll go on to item M, which is adjournment of the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you.